Hello, beautiful people of Break at the Apex. Welcome back to another podcast. And on tonight's show, me and BT are going to rave about Ferrari and be happy that Christian Horner Jr. is not here. Family commitments. So let's talk everything and anything Ferrari and what happened at the Bahrain Grand Prix. BT, let's get straight into it. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, obviously, which is Lando Norris. Again, we're only at the fourth race of the season, and we are already starting to see mistakes creep in from Norris's side. My honest opinion is that when it comes to being level-headed, Oscar Piastri has definitely got an advantage over Lando. And as things stand now, there is, I think, 8 points between them in the championship. And it's not looking good for Norris so early because there's already, in the past two races, we've already seen big mistakes from him. What's your opinion on this?
Dude, I don't want to be like ranting about Norris. Norris is losing this championship. That's my big take. He like Piastri at the moment is looking scary. He's
Mm,
looking so like laser focused. He's looking very sharp. He has worked on keeping his tires. Remember when he started 2 years ago, he couldn't keep his tires. His tires were always going off. And Norris was managing to keep his tires. And that's how Norris is
hmm
getting an advantage. Now Piastri has learned how to do that as well. And that is scary. And it's sad to say this, not even sad, it's shocking to say that Piastri might be turning to the number one driver for McLaren. And I'm thinking Piastri might win this championship. If Verstappen's car stays the way it is,
mm,
if Max's car stays the way it is, Piastri's win the championship. Unless Ferrari like does a miracle just like McLaren, and all of a sudden we see Leclerc challenging the McLarens, especially Piastri. If that happens, then we're going to talk a different season. But at the moment, Piastri is the 2025 world champion in my eyes. He's faster than Norris. He's beating Norris in qualifying, first of all,
mm,
and he's converting his poles into wins.
yes,
So
yes,
what
yes,
else should I
yes.
say about that? What do you think? Tell me, please.
No,
What do
dude,
you think?
dude. Oh man, I've said this so many times, and I know usually it really it makes Graham mad sometimes, but I honestly think Oscar Piastri is a better driver than Lando Norris. I think the fact that even in his rookie season 2 seasons ago, he got a hold of that McLaren so quickly and was matching Norris a lot of the times, showed a lot. And I mean, when Piastri came into the sport, he was hyped up like Toto was hyping up Kimi Antonelli, like people hyped up Verstappen when he initially debuted. There's something special about this kid. And I think he's finally gotten everything and he's now starting to put it together. And again, the main thing for me is I've not seen that championship, that mentality edge on Norris, that your Verstappens, your Lewis Hamiltons, your Fernando Alonso's. I haven't seen that championship winning edge to Norris yet. And again, I always say I am more than willing to be proven wrong because I really do like Norris and he is a fantastic driver. He's so fast, but he doesn't have, in my opinion, the mindset length over a championship to beat someone as calm and as cold as Piastri or a Verstappen. And we saw it last season. No matter how you look at last season, Lando should have won the world championship. The McLaren was halfway through the season definitely the fastest car. And this year, again, they've got the fastest car, and Norris is I wouldn't say bottling yet, but you can see mistakes starting to creep in compared to his teammate. And it's something that he can't afford right now because, like you said, Piastri is there. And now you've got a massive championship fight. If Ferrari don't catch up, or Mercedes or Red Bull, then you've got a McLaren fight for the championship, and my eggs are in the Piastri court. I just don't see Norris mentally winning against Piastri, and unfortunately, F1 is a big mental game, and I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, just before we move on, I'm just gonna ask you a question. So if Piastri wins the next race, do you think it's time for McLaren to make a decision on which driver they're gonna favor?
Honestly, this is something that I feel should have been made a decision about last season. But the thing is, McLaren are so much in the mind of avoiding drama. I think that it's starting to react badly onto the drivers. Um, the main thing for me is like I understand if it's when a new season starts, both drivers are on equal footing and everything. But if you've got a clear number one, which at this stage Piastri is starting to make a case for himself where he is becoming the clear number one very, very quickly, then you're going to have to start supporting him. McLaren have got all their eggs in the Norris basket. It's as if they prefer Norris. They haven't come out and stated this very directly, but if you see the way they react towards Norris and the way they defend Lando, it's pretty clear that they would rather want Lando as their world champion than Oscar Piastri. But Oscar Piastri, in my opinion, again, is your better driver and would be an exceptional champion. I mean, it's his third season in F1. Imagine winning the world championship in your third season. The last person that I can remember to do that was Hamilton in his second season with McLaren. And again, McLaren. It's there's something about rookies going to McLaren clearly, but it's honestly, I think if Piastri wins the next Grand Prix, that's a conversation that's going to have to be had. But will McLaren make that choice? I don't think they will because, again, I think their eggs are in the Norris basket. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be a trend throughout the season and it's going to frustrate us as fans so much as the season progresses. So,
Yeah, no.
yeah.
I mean, I totally agree with you, to be honest. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Let's move
But
on.
with the, yeah, but actually, before we move on, I actually just want to talk about, so we've had this incredible, action packed, exciting race. And yet,
Mm-hmm.
Piastri was barely shown on screen because he was dominating that whole Grand Prix. We saw Piastri at the race
Yeah.
start and we
Yes.
saw him at the safety car
Mm-hmm.
restart. They didn't even show
Mm-hmm.
him when the race ended because Norris and Russell were fighting. That's how dominant this guy was this weekend. And I'm just like, and people still want to choose Norris? There might be a problem here.
And who,
But
who
in
was the
any
last
case,
person? And who was the last person to do that? It was Max, basically.
uh-huh,
It was Max,
it
the
was.
last person to do that.
Yeah, it was Max Verstappen. So I think we actually, well, no matter how this season goes, this guy has really got a bright future in Formula One.
So no, I was saying that as you said that Piastri, we didn't see him during the race. We only saw him at the end during the safety car and the start of the race. We never saw him again. So that's how honored he was, basically.
Uh-huh.
And the camera people didn't even bother like following him, especially up there. But no, just leave this man alone. All the action is happening at the back. No one's gonna catch him, and actually, no one caught him. And the last person to do that was Verstappen. So, is that basically a sign? Do you think
Mm.
that he will maybe dominate the rest of the season?
Honestly, there's a big possibility of that. What this weekend was for me when it comes to Piastri, it was almost like asserting dominance, not just over his teammate, but over the other rivals also wanting to fight at the front. And that includes Verstappen, Ferrari, and Mercedes. Piastri, China was he wasn't running away with it. There was he could control it, but nobody could touch him this weekend, including Norris. And I'm not just talking about the race. Qualifying throughout practice, Norris was constantly on the back foot. And if this is the Piastri that we're going to have for the rest of the season, he can very, very easily do a Verstappen 2022 and dominate from this point onwards. It's a very big possibility. And I think everybody on this grid should definitely be, I wouldn't say scared, but be wary of Piastri because it's the Piastri that we have this
Mhm.
season compared to the previous two. There's something different about him. It's as if something has woken him up. And to be honest with you, it's kind of making me excited.
Yeah, I mean, look, at first I thought that Norris was going to win this thing quite easily, but at this point, I think Piastri might have a good chance, to be honest with you. And if McLaren do make the right calls in terms of maybe taking him over Norris, then McLaren have a chance to win both championships. If they don't do that any sooner, then I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. They might lose either or, to be honest with
Mm,
you.
yeah, and to be honest with you, talking about the previous champion that we spoke about, I actually want to get to Verstappen because a week ago we were hyping this man up, being like, "No, Red Bull isn't that far behind. Look what he just did in Japan." We go a week on to Bahrain, and that car is clearly the slowest of the top four. And Max battled Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly for that entire race. That's scary.
Hmm.
So, and then people are very quick to say, yeah, but Sonoda's also not doing what Lawson could have done. And you look at it, sorry, BT, can you see me?
Yeah,
Oh,
again.
what is, sorry, Graham must just cut that out. My screen just completely fucked
Yeah,
out.
no,
Sorry about that. All right. In any
no
case,
problem.
so, and people are very quickly to say that, like, Sonoda's not doing what Lawson could have done. Yuki was
Hmm.
only a few positions behind Max this race. If that was a fight for the front, Yuki would have gotten a top five this weekend. So, besides the fact that Red Bull have got a massive car problem, they might have finally found a number two that can give Red Bull and Max the support that they need. But let's focus on the fact that that car was horrible this whole weekend. What did you make of it?
Look, Suzuka's not Bahrain.
Mm,
It's that simple.
yeah.
It's very hard to overtake in Bahrain. Sorry, in Suzuka. Bahrain is not that difficult to overtake, and it's a high speed circuit. If I could say, if I'm correct by saying that.
Mm,
So Suzuka kind of did hide Red Bull's performance,
mm,
and it just showed that aerodynamics in the Red Bull are still quite good. Red Bull is known for the aerodynamic in their
yes.
cars. So for that circuit, that car was perfect. I could say that. Might be wrong, might be proven wrong, but for that circuit, it was good. And Max knew that if he qualifies on pole, it's very hard for you to overtake someone there because of the
Mm,
dirty air from the car in front of you. But in Bahrain, they didn't experience that. Bahrain was a different circuit,
mm-hmm.
and the speed of the McLarens kind of showed that. We know McLaren's a hybrid car; it's fast anyway, but especially in circuits like those, because McLaren will be fast in Saudi as well. Saudi is a very
Mm,
fast track. I actually compared this morning when I was at work. I compared Saudi to Monza, and if you look at both tracks, they look very similar. They're
yeah.
very fast tracks, basically. So that Red Bull, it was literally revealed that it's not up to par where other big teams are in terms of Mercedes, and it's struggling Ferrari, and Max was frustrated the entire race. But this
Mm,
time it wasn't a frustration in terms of how Max gets frustrated. He gets frustrated like to a point that it's uncontrollable. But this time I think he understood that they had no pace in this
yeah.
particular race, so he could understand what's happening. But I did hear that Marco to miss Adrian Newey,
Yep.
and it's
It's already
starting.
starting to show. Yep.
It's
It's starting to show.
starting, and now it's the thing is now is that it's starting. And what is Max doing now? Max is looking at his options. Damn sure, I'm positive by saying this. Max is looking at his options now. He's looking
Mm-hmm.
at Mercedes. I don't know if he's looking at Aston yet. I don't know. Someone needs to convince him. Maybe Adrian Newey will convince him at some point. But I'm sure that Verstappen at this moment, he's looking at Mercedes like, I might have to listen to Toto.
Mm-hmm.
I might, and I don't understand people saying that. No, no, Max will never go to Mercedes. Mercedes apparently has a good engine for next year.
Oh,
Apparently, there's
yes.
rumors. There's rumors about it. So Max knows that Toto wants him, so he has that leverage to start talking to Toto. But back to your question. Look, Red Bull has dominated for 4 years. Max has won 4 championships, and yet again, it's McLaren time, and as when you talk about Sonoda as well, Sonoda has come into this team at the perfect time, but not really at the
Yes.
perfect time. Do you understand what I mean? It's not the
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
time, but he came into the perfect time, and it shows that he can drive that car, he can adapt to that car better than Lawson. And I'm gonna say that again,
yes,
ladies and gentlemen, he adapted to that car better than Lawson. To me
yes,
now, it does show, and yes, Graham, I'm about to say this, it does show that Sonoda is actually better than Lawson.
yes. To be honest with you, like when it comes to raw pace, I think Sonoda and Lawson are very equal to each other. But like Graham said on last week's podcast, Yuki has a massive amount of experience over Liam Lawson, and that is unfortunately what's starting to show now. And eventually, your experience turns into the way you race. It affects your pace. It affects everything. And right now, Yuki Tsunoda is definitely a better and faster driver than Lawson.
Mhm.
And talking about Lawson, where was Lawson this weekend? Besides the fact that the Racing Bulls looked quite terrible this weekend, Lawson was nowhere. I don't know if the kid's confidence has completely been broken or what the case may be. But even with that car being crap, he still got demolished by Isaac Hadjar.
Yes, yes.
This kid's on his fourth race. A young kid, he's barely got any experience, and he is absolutely stomping Lawson under his shoes. Lawson needs to figure something out very quickly because if this keeps going, I don't even see Racing Bulls keeping him come the middle part of the season.
And the thing
And
is, Dirk. Sorry to just
no
disrupt you,
problem.
but the thing is, he wanted this. He
Hmm.
wanted to be a driver. He wanted to be part of Racing Bulls, and he wanted a seat at Red Bull, and he got
Yep.
both of them. And the thing is that I told Graham before, I was like, Graham, why does Lawson feel entitled for a seat instead of working for a seat? That's what happens when you feel like you're entitled to something. When you finally get it and it's time for you to perform, mm-mm,
Uh-huh.
nothing happens. It's either you got it too soon or you're not talented enough to even get the opportunity. And that's exactly what's happening. You got the opportunity, you didn't do well in the Red Bull.
Yes.
Remember me and you saying that we wanted a whole season with him and Sonoda being
Yes.
teammates so we can
Yes.
measure that. Unfortunately, we didn't get that to that position or to that sequence. But now the better drive or the person who's showing who's more talented, who has more experience, who can adapt to certain conditions and certain situations is a Japanese man.
Yep. And to be honest with you, I know Sonoda didn't get a P4, P5, but I was honestly impressed with him this weekend. He was
Yes.
never, besides practice, when it comes to qualifying and the race, he was never more than 3 to 4 tenths off of Verstappen, which is right now the ballpark where he needs to be as he adapts more to the car. And he was punchy in the race. He was fighting other cars. It's not like the other cars completely overwhelmed him and the Red Bull was hard to drive, so he just let them go. He was actually fighting back and trying to make some moves himself. So at this point, Sonoda, it's gonna if he keeps going at this trend, it's gonna get better and better and better. And again, we're on round 4 of the season. There's still 20 races to
Yes.
go.
Yes.
By the time we look to at Sonoda by the end of the season, he can be a completely different driver just because Red Bull gave him a chance. And I honestly hope that that is the case because I honestly think Yuki is more talented than people give him credit for, and it's starting to show now.
And to be honest, do you think Christian Warner is happy with him? I think he's happy with him. I think Christian Warner is finally like sleeping very well at night, knowing that he has actually picked the right second driver for that car.
Mm. I, I do not see a world where you as a team boss cannot be happy. The fact, even though it was a horrible weekend, both your cars got points, and your
Yes,
second driver was actually relatively on pace with your first driver. And again, your first driver is Max Verstappen. So I can't see a world where Toto is not. Sorry, excuse me, where Christian Horner is not happy. And the fact that there was a heated conversation after the race, I think whether that was about the car or about the team or whatever the case may be, Max has stated this himself. He is not in F1 to make buddies. He is there to win.
Mm-hmm.
And if Red Bull can't provide him a car, back to the topic that you talked about, Max is going to weigh up his options. Whether that is to leave F1 and to go into other motorsport disciplines, which he stated in the past he would like to do endurance racing, or whether that is to jump to Mercedes, jump to Aston Martin, for Pete's sakes. You never know. Maybe he does the unthinkable and jumps to Ferrari. You never know what can happen because every team on that grid wants Max Verstappen because he's just that damn good. Any
Mm-hmm.
team, if Verstappen says, I'm on the market, every single other team on that grid will offer him a contract. And
Mm.
it's Max is going to be spoiled for choice.
Yes.
And again, Red Bull have got, if I'm thinking about how high Max's expectations of that team is, I would say they've got 5 to 8 Grand Prix to figure this car out. And if they don't figure it out, we're not going to have Max Verstappen in a Red Bull come the end of the season. And that's a very high probability. And that's unfortunately the facts right now.
Yeah, that would be so interesting seeing Max in another uniform, eh? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know Lewis Hamilton's announcement was shocking, it kind of the whole world stood. I think Verstappen can also has that effect.
Mm-hmm. No,
You know.
absolutely. Because since we've seen Verstappen, he was a Toro Rosso driver for a season and a bit, and
Mm-hmm.
he got to Red Bull, and he's never left. He's always been in Red Bull themed overalls. So to
Yeah,
see, I like seeing Max in a completely blacked out Mercedes
yeah,
suit.
dude.
I can't imagine that even.
Even look, even Hamilton, you still have that thing where you see Hamilton wearing a red uniform and in a red car, and you're still like confused about it. But he is in Ferrari, but you're still like, I can't believe it. Usually you'll see Hamilton with a black suit or a white suit
Mm-hmm.
or in a black car or a black silver car. Now you're seeing him in a red car with a yellow, with that famous first year yellow helmet. And it's
Uh-huh.
still amazing to see. It's still amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. It absolutely is. I think this whole Red Bull situation is going to give us a lot of good content come the rest of the year because we're going to be able to talk a lot about this. But
Mhm.
actually, let's go into probably Red Bull's longest rival in F1, and that is Mercedes. Besides the fact that
Yeah.
Mercedes couldn't plan a single good strategy call for Kimi Antonelli, I want to take my hat off to George Russell. And I know Graham is probably going to cut this part of the podcast because he hates George Russell that much. But George Russell had every possible issue with that car in that race, and he still split the McLarens. He still kept Norris and Leclerc behind him, and he drove an absolutely phenomenal race. And I don't have anything more to say than just well damn done. He is starting to show more and more to people that with the right car in his hands, for instance, a McLaren of this year, Russell is a championship contender. His
Yes.
consistency is out of this world. And I
Yes.
was so impressed with him this weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not gonna repeat what you said. Fantastic job from him. Um, on my end, when I was watching the race yesterday, I kind of compared him to Verstappen, um, to Hamilton maybe in terms of you can see he's going into his peak.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see like
Yes.
now
Yes.
he's getting to his peak and he's becoming the driver that he's supposed to be? What Toto
Yes.
saw in him, what the Williams team saw in him as well. He's becoming that
Yes.
driver. So to me now, it's a question of is he next? Understand what I'm saying? Is he
Yes.
next? Because there's rumors now that Mercedes is apparently have a good engine for the 2026 season. So now that question also wanders in my head. Is Russell the next
Uh-huh.
championship winner here? Is he going into his peak now in terms of his dominance?
Yes.
And 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 I'm happy that Hamilton left that team. Because if Hamilton was still in Mercedes, we wouldn't be speaking about Russell this way.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So Hamilton, in a way, completely done a favor for Russell to blossom in the team and to become the team leader because he's doing that.
Yeah.
He's becoming the team lead. He's this team number one driver at at his peak or starting to peak up. So
Yes.
there's a wonderful future for Mercedes in terms of Russell and Mercedes and that partnership. And if they are actually dominant next year, ooh, we're in for a season, bro. We're in for
Uh-huh.
the season. Imagine
Yeah.
Verstappen, Russell, Norris, Piastri. maybe Hamilton or Leclerc all fighting for a championship. Imagine that
Uh-huh.
sequence.
That would be insane. Honestly, as far as things look now, I honestly think your favorites heading into next year is going to be Mercedes and Ferrari. I think we're going to go back to like 2017, 2018 type
Oh
thing, but that's
yes,
going to be the two teams
yeah.
to beat. And
Mhm.
then you've got this mouth-watering prospect of a peak George Russell versus his former teammate in Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton. And you've got two young guys so championship hungry in Leclerc and Antonelli. You're looking
Yes,
at something
yes,
insane. So,
yes.
as things stand now, definitely Mercedes and Ferrari are your favorites for 2026. But again, there's still a lot that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how good Honda's engine is going to be. That's going to Aston Martin. You've
Mm-hmm.
still got the Adrian Newey prospect for that
Yes,
team. Red Bull, you can never throw away Red Bull because they will always be there. But
but
there is
they are
there's
starting. They're starting a new engine supply right forward next year.
yes with
Okay, cool.
Ford,
Okay,
yes. So,
okay.
but the point is, Red Bull will always be there, no matter how you look at it. They might not just be there initially, and now all of a sudden you've got a McLaren that has gotten back to its old ways of strengths, like in the early 2000s. And I think the way McLaren are going now, the fact that they don't no longer have financial problems, the fact that they've got the engineers, they've got the people to design the car, they are always going to be in the conversation. So there's so many prospects going into next year. We were so excited at the end of last year for this season, and
Yeah,
already we are hyping up 2026 because
six.
everybody's excited for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. But BT, actually, let's get to the topic that me and you always enjoy to talk about the most, and it's Ferrari. And
Okay.
I'm going to let you go with this one because I also have a lot to say, but I was thoroughly impressed with our boys this weekend. It's starting to turn around, and that's what we need right now.
I mean, yeah, me and you were talking yesterday. I think after the race about the
Mm,
strategy, but you kind of explained why they went into the hards. So I kind of understood why they did. Maybe they just calculated it wrong. It wasn't a bad
mm,
move or anything like that. So I'm not gonna go off that. Yeah, I mean, we look good. The flaws that we actually brought into the weekend, it looks like they did work, and we are heading
yes.
in the right direction. I'm not going to speak about Leclerc. Leclerc has been with Ferrari for a million years now. He knows how to drive that car, so he's quite confident in terms of that machinery. The important topic is Sir Lewis Hamilton. Sir Lewis Hamilton is finally, I think, last night and last night's race, I think he finally got an epiphany. You know, when you get an epiphany
Yes.
where you're doing something in a new team or in your new career path, and you're doing this job, and you figure out how to do the job. There's something that comes to you. You're like, oh, I'm
Yes.
supposed to do this. So I actually listened to his post race interview where he said that there's a couple of things that he needs to do differently, because he did
Yes.
mention that Leclerc will set up his car and never change it for the entire weekend. So Leclerc will
Hmm.
set up his car on Friday, and he will keep that setup throughout the weekend. Which is
Yes.
Hamilton. He keeps on changing the setup of the car, and I think he came to an understanding where maybe that's not the best thing to do
Mm,
in Ferrari. Maybe it worked at Mercedes, but Ferrari is a different car. And
exactly.
he did it further explain that he realized that he had to actually discover a new driving style with the Ferrari. For
Yes.
example, the Ferrari is using Brembo brakes, and Mercedes using different brand of brakes, so they're quite
Yes.
different in terms of how effective they are. So he just spoke about like how his approach will be in future, and he finally gets he's getting he's how can I say, he's getting to know the car, and each race
Yes.
is getting better, and his mistakes are being minimized a bit. But I do still want to criticize him in terms of qualifying. His qualifying has
Yes.
not been good recently. I'm not saying he has lost his speed. Lewis Hamilton is a natural born driver. He has 7 championships. He didn't get the 7 championships by just sleeping and waking up and just racing. He's a
Yes.
natural born racer. So he just needs to work on that. And obviously, Leclerc is faster than him at the moment because Leclerc has been in the team for a million years. So
Mm,
that's bound to happen. But I think when Hamilton finally catches up, then the real season will start for Ferrari in terms of managing those two. For now, it's still nice. Hamilton is catching up. Playing the catching up game. But when it finally when Hamilton finally gets to where Leclerc is, and that's probably towards the end of the season,
hmm.
then fireworks will start to happen because they'll
Oh,
start
yes.
to match in terms of the times, in terms of qualifying and the race pace as well. So overall, I was happy with the team. I mean, fourth and fifth, it's not bad
Mm,
for us bringing upgrades to Bahrain. Looks like in a good direction. Let's see in Saudi what's going to happen. Let's see how fast this car is now in terms of the high speed circuit.
yes. No, I completely agree with you. Remember what I said at the start of the season when Ferrari announced they were going with a new concept? I told you
Yes,
and
yes,
Graham, Ferrari have got 5 races to figure this car out. Otherwise, it's championship over.
mm,
And the fact that we've hit number 4 now, and it's a different world from Suzuka. Like, the only reason Charles did good at Suzuka was because you couldn't overtake and he could keep the 2 Mercs behind him.
yes,
But this weekend, him and Lewis were racing. They were overtaking other cars. They were good on strategy. The car was pacey in the race itself. I honestly think if the last safety car didn't screw them, I think Ferrari could have honestly had a 2-4 or a 3-4 at least, because
yes,
the car was fast in race trim.
yes.
But unfortunately, this last safety car kind of forced their hand. But besides that, back on the Lewis Hamilton topic, I I watched the exact same interview that you did. Is Hamilton's post race interview, and I'm talking to one of my friends in England, and he's a diehard Lewis Hamilton fan. Like, he lives and breathes Lewis Hamilton. And I talked to him yesterday, and I told him, people, especially us as fans that don't drive this level of car, we cannot fathom, and I don't think we understand what a massive move this is for Lewis.
Yes,
And
yes.
I put it into perspective for him. I said, remember, Lewis started in Formula One in 2007. He's been in Mercedes engineering since he started. McLaren had Mercedes engines, they had
Mm,
Mercedes gearboxes, they had Mercedes computers. McLaren, when Lewis started, just built the chassis and the aerodynamics.
mm,
That car was still a Mercedes car. And he moved from McLaren Mercedes to Mercedes. He's known nothing but Mercedes since the start of his Formula One career. And all of a sudden, you're going to something completely different.
different.
It's it's a different car. It's a different team. The way things are run, the way things go, even within a race itself, is different from what you are used to. And I told him, because everybody is thinking, oh, Lewis is 40, his career's over. Guys, Alonso's going on 45 and he's still driving like he's 25. If there's
Mm,
any driver on this grid that can still keep that pace at, say, an Alonso age, it's Hamilton.
mhm.
Give him one season. Give him 2025 to adapt and to figure out the rhythm of Ferrari. Because even next year with the massive reg changes, the core of every car, if you drive a Merc, you know it's a Merc. If you drive a Ferrari, you know it's a Ferrari. If you drive a Red Bull, you know it's a Red Bull. Their core mechanics of how the cars feel, no matter what the regulations are the same. And Lewis needs to find that, and he's busy finding it.
Mm.
I honestly think the last 5 races of the season, we're going to see what, honestly, Lewis and Charles like this. And I hope by that time that we are also actually fighting for the constructors, because I really still think Ferrari can do it this year.
Yeah.
But this weekend in Saudi, for me, personally, is going to be the make or break. Because if Ferrari, I'm not saying they should win this weekend, but if they lose to McLaren by more than 15 seconds, I'm gonna be honest and say championship over. Let's just try and see if we can
Yeah.
get second.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, go
I mean,
Reezy.
look, speaking about McLaren, I'll give it back to you. Remember when Lewis started in Mercedes? It started exactly the same way.
Yep.
It started
Yep.
exactly the same way. He
Mm,
struggled when he came to the team. And he struggled only for one season or a couple of races.
yeah.
And you're trying to figure out the whole team, how everything works, how the car drives, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously,
Yeah.
the Mercedes was similar to the McLaren. But it doesn't mean the
Yes.
McLaren is the Mercedes. So it's still a
Exactly.
different car. And it's a different team, different culture. He's a
Mhm.
Ferrari, different car, totally different car, different culture,
Yes,
how things operate there, language barrier as well, because we know the guys prefer speaking Italian, but obviously now they do
yes,
speak English as well. I mean,
yes.
you saw the messages Hamilton said in the radio after the race. He's even
Mm.
talking a bit of Italian now. Each driver that
Yes.
drives for Ferrari, you at least must know it. Thank you and well done in Italian. At
Oh,
least
yes,
you must know
absolutely.
that. So people should not, especially Lewis Hamilton fans, they should not worry. The way Lewis is performing, if you actually see the last four races, he's improving.
Yes.
If you look at him from Australia to now in Bahrain, total different driver.
Oh,
Total
yes.
different driver. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, like I said, I like to do the number crunching, and I went to go look at the race log afterwards to like see the drivers' sectors and lap times.
Mm,
And Lewis only struggled against Charles on the hard tires. And it's throughout practice during the weekend. Every time Ferrari put Lewis on the hards, he said, "This is not the tire for me. I want mediums and
mm,
softs." Again,
mm,
it wasn't Ferrari's fault. Their hand was forced. I know Mercedes went to softs at the end of the race, but
mm.
again, Ferrari hoped that the other drivers' tires would fall off and that they
Yes.
would have an advantage at the end. Their hand
Mm,
was forced. So again, it is what it is. But Hamilton at the end of the race was on the tire that he least preferred throughout that whole weekend. And on the flip side, Leclerc loved the hards. He loved the hards ever since they strapped it onto the car. For some other reason, he just gelled with them.
mm,
But up until that second safety car, Lewis was never more than 2/10 a lap slower than Charles.
mm.
Throughout the whole part of that race, even though Lewis was a little bit more behind and he was battling other drivers, he was on Charles's pace. Come the end of the season, we're gonna see a different Hamilton, and I am honestly excited for it, BT, and I know you are as well
Yeah,
because
I
we
mean,
both have a soft spot for Lewis.
yeah, I mean, before we go to the last topic or next topic, remember now, Lewis Hamilton is finally driving a Ferrari. And we all know through F1 fans that if a Ferrari is behind you and it's overtaking cars, that's the most scariest thing you can ever see.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
A true Formula One fan knows that. That if you have a fast Ferrari and that Ferrari is going through the pack and you see that the red car coming through,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Lewis Hamilton is so happy to be in Ferrari at the moment
Oh
because he's
yes.
going to be one of those drivers coming from the back and actually attacking the rest of the paddock. But yeah, cool. Good luck to him, man.
Mm.
Good luck to him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good season. And then BT, there's actually only one more driver that I want to talk about, and that is Pierre Gasly. I don't know what Gasly ate this weekend. I don't know what he did this weekend. Gasly, and to be honest, shout out to Jack Doohan as well. He really had a strong weekend as
Mm,
well. But Pierre Gasly qualifying P5, starting P4 after the Mercs got their penalties, and finishing
mm,
P7. Max nipped him on the last lap. He was driving
mhm,
so well against Max defending. But still,
mm.
P7 for Alpine, they've already, even though it's their only points they've scored so far, they are still on more points 4 rounds into this season than they were last season. They scored 4 points by round 4 last season. Now they're on
Wow.
6. Yes, it's all Gasly, but
Mm.
still, Gasly was on a different level. He was the midfield driver, the best of the rest driver to beat this weekend. He felt like Piastri, but just for the midfield. And it was awesome to see. Gasly was on fire this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Gasly looked good. I mean, we're not surprised by this. Remember in Brazil, he had an awesome race in Brazil, so
Mm,
there's nothing surprising about his performance. He is quite fast. Alpine is much better this season, and I remember I wasn't part of the prediction show before the season started with you and Graham,
mm,
where Graham said that Alpine is going to do well this season, and it shows that Graham was actually right about that.
mm.
Alpine is optimizing their car perfectly.
Yes.
We're not saying they are the fastest, but they just stay in the middle. They Alpine is where Aston Martin should have been.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, so they've taken over where Aston Martin used to be. They have taken over that position now. And just behind them, it's debatable. Just behind them is Racing Bulls or the Haas, because the Haas is surprisingly good. I don't know what's happening there. I don't know what they're doing at Haas, but Haas they are doing a good job. But for Gasly, well done for him. I know maybe they will struggle in Saudi because it's a it's a fast track. I don't think they have the
Yeah.
speed for that circuit, but they should take advantage of circuits like Monaco, or the slow circuit Monaco, Zandvoort, a slow track. You think?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tracks like that where they can maximize their points. But in terms of the next race, in terms of speed, they will struggle. And I do think the horse maybe is faster than the Alpine. I can be proven wrong if I say that, but I think that the horse will probably do better, and the Williams might do better the next race than Alpine. So it's good that they took advantage of this and actually got points for this weekend.
Yeah. No, I agree. I honestly think when it comes to one lap pace, the Alpine is faster than the Haas.
Okay.
But I think
Mhm,
race pace, they are very, very close. And this weekend, Gasly
mhm.
just got more out of it. But I mean, Ollie Behrman went from P20 to P10, and Ocon finished eighth.
Bro,
So Haas looked good this weekend. And
bro,
Ollie Behrman, I mean, bro, he's impressing me so much. P20 to P10,
bro,
and he was fighting, man. He was fighting Beartooth this weekend. Yes, man. Loved
bro.
to see it.
Yeah,
So
I thought he's
yeah,
gonna be the driver of the day. Eh? I thought he was gonna be
mm,
the driver of the day. Obviously, they gave it to Lewis, and I understand why they gave it to Lewis. But I mean, Behrman had a fantastic race. Like he's showing race by race why he deserves to be in F1. To be honest with you.
yes. To be honest with you, him and Antonelli. Antonelli, people, he really got Mercedes gave him such, with all due respect, a shit strategy. And
Mm, mm,
dude, he overtook
mm.
Max Verstappen in this Grand Prix.
Yes. Did you
I
see that?
Bro, yeah, and you know what's so what I love about the new rookies, okay? Because there's this whole stigma in F1 that drivers are scared of Verstappen. And I wouldn't say they're scared, but they're careful of him. And you can see in the way they battle Verstappen. These rookies don't give a crap. They're like, okay, you're ahead of me. I'm
Bro,
faster. I'm going to pass you no
bro.
matter what you do. And Antonelli was just whoop, around the
Yeah.
outside by Verstappen. I was like, oh, Max is going to
Because
hate that. He's
because
boiling in that car.
because because when I was watching the sequence, I'm like, oh no, is he really gonna do it? Oh, he's gonna do it. Oh, you did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. And I'm sure Max was smiling inside when Antonelli passed him though. I mean,
Yeah.
Max has been in that situation before. He has been a young driver. So
Yeah.
I think he understood as well. So it was a nice moment, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, it was like that. That was something special. But talking about moments, BC, I think we have wrapped up the topics, and now
Mm,
let's head into our moment of the weekend. And you can go first with your moment of the weekend.
I mean, my moment of the weekend, I'm gonna give it to the boys. I mean, Ferrari almost had a perfect strategy. They
Yeah.
almost had a. I didn't get why they left him out for a long time, but when they put it and they went into mediums and they started catching up and they started overtaking other cars, then I understood. Oh,
Uh
okay,
huh.
this makes sense. So that moment for me with Hamilton, especially Hamilton overtaking the other cars and Leclerc just actually being on par with Russell and actually overtaking Russell at some point. That was a moment of my
Yes.
week of the race as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, for me, it was between Ferrari's strategy plays this weekend and the thing that we just talked about, Antonelli overtaking
Mm.
Verstappen.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just to
yeah,
be
yeah.
different, I'm going to take the Antonelli move because, again, even though, again, Mercedes screwed him, Antonelli had such a good weekend, man. This kid, along with
Mm,
Ollie Behrman, they are really showing why Toto, in respects to Antonelli and Ferrari in regards to Behrman, why they wanted them in F1 so bad because they saw something. And these two kids are proving it now.
mm.
But that move, Antonelli just absolutely like making sure that
Bro,
Max knows that he's not scared of him was such a good feel moment. And like you said, Max was either sitting in that cockpit smiling or he was fuming. But I think it was the first. I think Max was smiling because he knows what that feeling is. And people keep forgetting Max is only 27 years old. Max is still extremely young.
Yeah.
He started in F1, what was he? I think 16 or 17 years old. Antonelli is 18 years old. It's
Yes.
crazy because Max
Yes.
probably sees a bit of himself in Antonelli. But in any case,
Yeah.
but PT, who was your donkey of the weekend?
Norris, bro.
Again,
Then,
you like this topic.
like, do I need to explain? Like, Norris, you have one of the fastest cars.
Not
Apparently, you
the
bid it.
one of them. You've
You
got
have
the fastest car.
yeah, the fastest car. Apparently, you better than your teammate. At the moment, it doesn't look like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's
That's very
happening?
true.
So that's why you my donkey of the race of the weekend. What's happening? Please tell us. Yeah.
No, man. I don't know what it's going to take for Lando to actually, figure something out. But like we spoke at the beginning of the podcast, if he doesn't figure out something soon, Piastri is almost a guaranteed 2025 world champion. And as I'm sitting here now, that's something that is unimaginable right now. But I would still be excited to see it happen. But yeah, my donkey of the weekend, Aston Martin. Bro, what are they doing? What are Aston Martin doing? That is a literal British racing green wheelie bin. Like,
Yo,
if you know a car is bad, when Fernando Alonso, after qualifying, says, yeah, P14 is the best we could do. Well done, boys.
and
Seriously?
and I was thinking in my head, is he being sarcastic or is actually being for real?
Look, a lot of people took it sarcastically. Nobody has said really whether it's been or not. But if you ask me, I think that was sarcastic. But still, the fact that even had to be stated, yeah, well done. This is the best we could do. Huh? P14, and again, Stroll being useless as can be, qualifying. What was it? P19. Nothing new. But I mean, there's honestly like Aston. I honestly think they've already written off the season and they're just completely focusing on 2026.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's
me
a
too.
potential
I
that
think they're
Aston
doing
could
that.
end last, and that's scary, man. That's honestly scary.
Wow. If they actually like forget about the season, focus on the season next year, do you think they're cooking up something?
It's very possible because remember also, if they come last in the championship, they've got the most wind tunnel hours for most development. They've got Adrian Newey now, which is an aerodynamicist, and they've got the already proven engine package in Honda coming to that car in 2026. I think Aston Martin are cooking up something, and I think they've already realized that there's no point in spending more money on this year's car trying to just maybe secure a P8 or a P7. Throw
Yeah.
the season in the bin. Lawrence Stroll has got more than enough money in any case to carry the team for a season. Focus on 2026. You've got the best aerodynamic engineer in F1 history now. You've got one of the best engines coming your way. And the worse you finish, the more development you can do on your aero. So
Mhm.
maybe Aston is cooking. We don't know. We don't know. But with that
Let's
being
see.
said, BT, I'm going to move into my stallion for the weekend. And my stallion, honestly, for me, it was Charles, man. Charles showed so much grit this weekend, and he was really you could see Charles really wanted to win that race if you were really honest with yourself. And I mean, when Ferrari put him on those mediums after the first pit stop, he was faster than the McLarens.
Yes.
He was running
Yes.
away from Norris. He was catching
Yes.
Russell. And then, I mean, I think Charles was really thought that he could at least get a P2. And I was very impressed with Charles. And the thing is, I also feel for I want to say Lewis's team health. The better Charles does and the better vibe that Charles can be within the team and also keep pushing the team forward, it's at the end of the day going to react good towards Hamilton as well.
Yes.
And Ferrari are now turning into the McLaren that we had when it was Sainz and Norris, when Norris was still a rookie. They're this good vibe, happy-go-lucky team.
Yes.
But it's because the chemistry within the team is so healthy right now, and it needs to keep building. So I'm very excited for Ferrari's prospects. But yeah, your stallion of the weekend.
I mean, I'm just going to say one thing about Leclerc and what I said about Russell. Russell and Leclerc are peaking at the same time.
Yep.
They're peaking at the same time. When like even when you hear the commentators during qualifying, they speak very highly about Leclerc, how fast he is, especially in qualifying. So
Yes.
those two drivers, if next year, if the Mercedes and the Ferrari are good, we have a season in our hands, especially for those
Oh,
two
yes.
drivers.
Yes,
Especially those two
absolutely.
drivers. But yeah, my talent is the Japanese man, Sonoda.
Yuki Tsunoda. There we
Oh,
go.
I mean, what can I say? He deserves it. And he
Oh, yes.
showed this weekend. I think he showed last weekend, but obviously he didn't get points. But he did show that he could adapt to the car and actually
Hmm.
drive that car. But this weekend, after one race, he was within the points.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah,
that
and I
means,
mean,
yeah.
sorry. Keep finish your
No,
statement.
I was about to say that it shows that he's always wanted to be in that uniform, in that
Hmm.
team, and now he's just keeping quiet and doing the job. If you actually see, he's not doing any tantrums. He's not
Oh, yes.
shouting. He's speaking properly to the team, speaking properly to his engineer, and he's letting the racing do the talking, basically. So now the
Yes.
smash talent of the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Sonoda, it's as if I want to say he's almost matured a bit since he's got this opportunity. And the thing about me that stands out for me is Sonoda was battling other drivers. He was confident enough in the car to actually throw that car up the inside, around the outside,
Yes.
and try and go for moves. And that's a good sign. The fact that he's willing to fight and not scared that the car's going to bite back every time he tries something different than just following the racing line. So
Yeah.
no, I am very very impressed. And
Yeah.
then BT, finally, before we end this week's podcast, because we're going to do another one next week because we're going to Saudi. What would you rate this race as? And to be honest, I think this was the race of the season so far. This has been the most entertaining one we've had so far.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it a 9. Due to a
Mm.
fact where beside Piastri, because he embarrassed everyone, second, third, and fourth were battling, and fifth were battling, and in the middle as well, they were battling, and towards the end
Yes,
of the pack, they were battling. So that made the whole race exciting. Not much in terms of strategy. I think Ferrari's strategy actually was the one that was quite interesting, but other strategies was quite straightforward. And Mercedes
yes.
actually ruined Antolini's race by having a horrible strategy for him. So 9 out of 10. I enjoyed this race, and hopefully Saudi will be much better.
I actually think Saudi this weekend is going to be a banger. I honestly think we're going to have an absolutely insane race. Because it seems to me like the high speed tracks like your Suzuka's, it seems that McLaren doesn't have that big of an advantage, especially if you look back to China, which is also a very, very high speed track. I
Mm-hmm.
think Mercedes and Ferrari are going to be close. Not sure about Red Bull. Let's see if they figure something out. But I'm very excited for this weekend in Saudi. And then my rating for the race, um, there were a few parts of the race where I felt, there could have been a little bit more happening. But I'm going to give
Mm.
the race an 8 out of 10 for me personally. But still, by far the most exciting race of the season. And it really gave us something special to watch. And like you and Graham said last week, hopefully this is the race that kicks off the season's momentum
Yeah.
for good, good competitive racing. So far you guys are correct, but let's see if it keeps going. And BT, that has been this podcast. We've actually survived without Graham. We've made it a bit better without Graham. Hopefully he's not too angry, and hopefully he doesn't get mad when the views are more between me and you than all us three together. But it is what it is. Thank you for joining, and guys, make sure you drop a like down below. Go check out the links in the description, and also comment so that we can interact with you. And above all, make sure you subscribe to watch us cool people talk F1 for the whole year. You've been amazing. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Cheers.